GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show that's as excited as Romania winning a game in the Euro Cup. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton, and today we're talking about two major things that happened on Solana this week that are making us mad bullish. Joining us today is Kyle Reidheaid, who's been telling everyone to buy Solana since it was $20 last year. He's the head of research at Milk Road Pro. Kai, welcome back to the show.
Great to be here. Big day.
Big day. Okay, well, there's my perfect lead in. Why is it such a big day or a big week for Solana? What happened?
Well, today we woke up. I actually didn't know. Remember, I came into the crypto news. We have like a news meeting every morning, and I was like, "Why is Solana up 8%? Does anyone know?" And I guess VanEck filed for a Solana ETF in the U.S., a spot ETF. So that's just massive news. Everyone's been kind of talking about it since the ETH ETF approval. So super cool there. And then earlier this week, even potentially bigger news is I don't want to say it's bigger, but anyway, blockchain links launched on Solana, something called Blinks. We won't get into what it is right now, but we will later in this episode, and it is massive and a really, really big deal. You can now do things on Solana right on Twitter, and we'll talk all about it.
Okay, super exciting. Two big things. Let's break each one of these down. Let's start with the Solana ETF. Why is that such big news for Solana and for Solana's price?
I mean, so Solana is a pretty small asset in the grand scheme of things. Like it's like 80 billion valuation, something like that. And so, well, it's probably not going to get a spot ETF anytime soon. If it did, the flows that it could get would be absolutely massive. If you look at already, there is a grayscale fund. It is not an ETF, but there is a fund that you can get. And it only has about 60 million assets under management. But that fund, it's like the only way to get access to Solana that's not actually on chain or in an exchange. That fund has a premium on Solana of like 4 or 5, no, maybe more than that, 7 or 8x, I think, to the price of Solana. So it's currently valuing Solana at $1,050 because it's just the only way. So people are just buying it anyway. Now, some people might not even know, and so retail might be getting wrecked on that. But it's a good sort of indicator of what the market is valuing Solana at. So whenever this ETF comes in, there is people that just want this thing, but don't, for whatever reason, want to buy it on chain. So look, Solana, we've called as one of the big majors in this space. If it got an ETF, it just opens the pipeline for more capital to flow into Solana. And at an $80 billion asset, it could quickly double, triple, quadruple, whatever in like literally a second when it opens up the doors with an ETF. So it's a big deal. I guess the other thing is, again, it's probably not going to get approved for a long time, but it just puts Solana on the map, right? Like the fact that VanEck, a TradFi company, a big company with a lot of ETFs and assets under management, is saying, hey, we are going to put resources towards filing this application. Again, whether it gets approved or not doesn't really matter. It's the fact that like it costs money for VanEck to do this. They're not doing it just for fun, although it's probably pretty good marketing for them for their other ETFs to the crypto community. But more, it's a nod to Solana saying, hey, we see you, you're legit, we want you as an ETF because we know there's demand. And so we're going to pay someone on our team to go and file this application and do all the things, the due diligence. So it puts it in the atmosphere of the crypto world, in the TradFi world. So it's super exciting.
This news today is just an application has been filed for a Solana ETF. Not to be confused. I think a lot of people get confused about the process here and how long it takes. And when we go from this is hype that caused an 8% pump today that got everybody excited, it doesn't mean that there's new inflows all of a sudden coming tomorrow. Can you break down what kind of happens and what we can expect maybe to see here?
What's funny is this is an S1, I believe it's called, which we've gone through the forum titles and stuff before. It doesn't really matter. This is actually an application to apply. So it's not even an application for the ETF, which is kind of funny. But typically, this is just part of the process. You have to do this first. But if we look back, to give some context, I mean, the first Bitcoin spot ETF was filed in July of 2013. This is from the Winklevoss twins back in 2013. And then, to end that story, it didn't actually get approved until this year, 2024, in January. So more than 10 years it took to get that one approved. Now, that's not going to happen with Solana, of course, but it took that long on Bitcoin. Now, it was denied a bunch of times over the years. And then finally, when I guess more when BlackRock finally filed back in, was it June 2023, almost a year ago today, that's when it looked like, okay, this thing's finally going to happen. It finally got approved and then went live in January of this year. So Ethereum, similar story, but faster timeline, right? Its first spot ETF application was by VanEck. Once again, this was in 2021. The SEC just didn't care about it for many years. And then, of course, who came in? BlackRock. Was it last year or earlier this? When was it? Earlier this year? Maybe last year? I forget what it was. And that put it on the map once again. And then the SEC approved it like last month or 2 months ago now. So, and then it looks like this will probably get approved and actually go live probably next week, I think. We don't know for sure, but it looks like that's what's going to happen. So the timeline has really moved up when it went from Bitcoin to then ETH. The same thing will likely happen here with Solana. Now, does this thing get approved and ready to go this year? I have no idea. Probably not. But also, like, if the Trump administration comes in and they are super pro crypto and they get rid of Gary Gensler, which there's word that might happen, it could be way faster than we all think. So this whole idea of like you needed futures for 2 years and stuff, I've been saying this on this podcast for a little while. Like, I don't think that actually matters. It's just kind of made up numbers and made up timelines. And so we'll see. We have no idea what's going to happen here. But from the point of the first application, we know this is going to be a year plus, at least, if things go perfectly well, a year plus before this thing's actually live and trading and we're getting those kind of flows. So maybe it marks the top of this bull run. We'll see.
What a call that.
Well, the Coinbase IPO did last cycle, so maybe it happens this cycle.
Can it happen just a little bit before the top of the bull run? Just give us a little bit of legs. Okay, so what I hear you saying is everybody set your expectations appropriately. This is going to take some time, likely somewhere around a year, but like there's a lot of factors at play here, a lot of people involved. The SEC, which seems to march to the beat of their own drum and decide their own timelines all the time and does not need to publicly say when the timeline is. So expect that this could be quite some time.
If it even gets approved. You know what's funny is last week there was all these rumors on Twitter. If you happen to see these, they didn't really go mainstream, but of people saying sources, there's an investigation by the SEC on Solana. It's going to come out. They've been hiding it. And so like Solana dumped pretty hard as the rest of the market dumped. It dumped way more, went down to like $120 or something like that, basically because people are fighting it and coming with this news. And then all of a sudden a week later, you've got VanEck applying for a Solana ETF. So it's kind of funny. You got to separate the noise from the signal, that's for sure.
Exciting news on the perspective of new inflows coming into Solana, big pipeline coming at some point in the next year or two. Let's take a look at the tech side. And you mentioned Solana Blinks launched this week. What is Solana Blinks and why is this such a big upgrade for the tech of Solana?
This is really cool. If you guys remember Farcaster and how they have Farcaster frames, it's kind of similar to that. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. I'll explain. So Blinks stands for blockchain links. And essentially it's, when you post a blog, an article, or whatever, something from Spotify on Twitter, and it shows a bit of a preview text and it shows maybe like a little image. If you throw like a YouTube link up on Twitter, it'll show the kind of the thumbnail of the YouTube video. It's basically this, except there's blockchain interactions integrated and built into that. So when you share a link that has a blink on the end of it, let's think of it like a UTM for marketers. What it does is it'll show the preview of like an image or whatever you want. And then there's actually a couple buttons in there where you could mint an NFT, you could swap a token, you could buy ETH, you could do whatever the heck you want on chain from this. And it's instant. And so basically from Twitter, for example, or Facebook or Instagram, I can share a link to, mint my NFT. And you don't even have to leave Twitter. You literally can just click the button right there. Or I could say buy $10 worth of this, donate $10, $20, or $50, and you can choose which button to click on. Once you click it, your Phantom wallet pops up and you just have to accept it and boom, your transaction's done. You never had to leave Twitter. That is absolutely massive. Is it clear on what that is or should I dive further into explaining it?
Yeah, I think that's super clear, Kai. Thanks for breaking that down for us. It makes it sound like now you can operate on chain, minting NFTs, sending money, all these incredible things that we like to do on chain, but you can do it from within any website or any social media app.
Yeah, if you think of so last cycle we had, Instagram start to integrate NFTs into their feed. You had Twitter launch like profile pictures into with NFTs. What this does is we no longer need to talk to the social platforms about integrating our features. They just work. And so like literally so many applications in Solana have already been doing this. There was a token that launched for, I can't remember what company it was in Solana or what protocol. And they had like a 5 million market cap. And they were like, hey, you can buy our token right here on Twitter. And it went to, 50 million market cap. It went to 5 million in like an hour. It was insane because it's just so easy, right? So to not have to like get approval from these tech platforms just opens up the door, because don't forget, this is not just Twitter I'm talking, it's the entire internet. Now all links, you can embed a link on a website, you can embed a link in our newsletter, you can embed links anywhere on the internet, and it can immediately have an interaction on chain. And what this does essentially is it makes the entire internet the new front end for Solana, right? So previous to this, if you wanted to swap a token, mint NFT, I'd have to send you off Twitter or off Instagram. You've got to go to, Jupiter or whatever, and then connect your wallet and then swap your token, etc. Now it's just literally all in the platform that you're already on and that you already love. Now, we all said mainstream happens when the big Web2 platforms integrate crypto, and it happens in the platforms themselves. We were waiting for Twitter to go, okay, we're going to do this. Now we don't have to do that. Now we've just done it ourselves. Now, so like it's massive on what the use cases are here, on the UX that this creates for crypto, because now Web2 is our UX, which is super, super cool. Now on the flip side of it, you have to have a Phantom wallet already. So it doesn't work if you don't have a wallet. They'll have to build in a feature where like if you don't have a wallet, you can still see it. And when you click, it's like, oh, don't have a wallet? Here, download one. But crypto's really bad at doing that for some reason. If you think of every Web2 application, it's like if I go to use some sort of like Spotify and I don't have a login, it goes, here, create a login. Crypto just for whatever reason has forgotten about that step. But anyway, so there's that side of it. Yeah, the other side of it is you think of like what Twitter did with Substack recently, where they nerfed all the links. So it's like, hey, you can post a Substack link on Twitter, but they're going to hide it. This could happen here, right? Twitter could say, hey, actually, maybe there's a lot of scams with these. And so Twitter could say, hey, you know what? If you've got a Blink as your link, it's such a weird name, then we're going to nerf it. We're going to hide it. So we don't know how the big platforms are going to play along with this. But so far anyway, it's really, really cool. If you use it, it's super easy. And I think it can be a really big deal.
Any other upgrades coming to Solana Tech that have you excited right now? I know Blinks was the big news this week, and obviously people are, as you said, tons of use cases already. It feels like everybody on Twitter is talking about Solana Blinks and what can be done with it. But anything else that's in the background from a Solana Tech upgrade perspective?
Yeah, look, the Blinks thing is cool, but it's also like Ethereum's going to copy this in the next like week, probably, right? Like this is going to come out on Ethereum, it's going to come out on like whatever other blockchain. So this is not a thing that's specific to Solana. What I will say though is we just had ZK compression updates, which like makes Solana just so much more efficient and faster. And then we have FireDancer coming maybe the end of this year, which is essentially a new validator client for Solana. It doesn't really matter about the tech side of things. What it does is it takes Solana from a 60,000 TPS transactions per second to over 1 million transactions per second, which with ZK compression and FireDancer together, this is going to make Solana just the fastest, the cheapest, the most performant blockchain by like a large margin. And so you could have something like Blinks, but can it handle all that many transactions? Solana, yes. Others, hard to say. We don't really know yet. So I think the combination of all those, and I mean, Solana is just shipping every single day right now. They are launching so many things. Their ecosystem is what I like to call cooking, and they are absolutely cooking right now. And I couldn't be more bullish on what Solana is doing and what their tech is doing. They're accomplishing so much. It feels like Ethereum back in 2018, 2019. For those of you who weren't in the space then, they were the only ones shipping and just launching cool things, launching new applications, ICOs, like all these things were going on back then. No one else was doing this. And look, Ethereum is shipping a ton. Layer 2s are crushing it. So it's not just Solana this time around, but Solana is really leading the pack here, and it's really cool to see.
For all those who didn't catch what Kai said around ZK compression and FireDancer, if you don't understand this tech and you don't know what those words mean, Raoul Paul put out a great tweet which explains it very well. He said, compression, Merkle trees, blah, 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 roll-ups, blah, 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 L2, blah, blah, blah. He said, more scale, more cheap, and with FireDancer, more fast. This is a big step change for Sol.
Make it super simple. The tech stuff, It's important, but it's important to a small few people, right? We just need to know what's the results of it. What's the outcome? And the outcome is this shit's going to be fast and scalable and cheap. And that's what we've needed for a long time for cool apps to come on. And that's why you have a lot of AI and DPIN and things like that building on Solana, payments, stable coins, a lot's coming there. And it's a thriving ecosystem.
Here's the real question. What does all of this say about your investment case for Solana right now?
I mean, like you said at the start of this episode, I have been calling Solana to everyone in our mainly in our pro membership, but even publicly since Solana was below $20. This was back in, I don't know, summer of last year or something like that. And my thesis has not changed, right? I think Solana is going to 1,000 plus this cycle. I think it's going to, it like has so much growth left in it today. And it's the one asset where like you can actually put size into that and still get a 5x. It's tough to like, hey, here's a 5x investment, but feel confident in it. Like that just doesn't happen in any other asset in the world. And you're like, hey, I could do this, get 5x, and I could put size into it and like feel pretty confident in it. It's a big deal. And so that's why Sol makes up a large part of my portfolio. Same within our pro portfolio. It makes up a pretty large part of it there as well. And I mean, we've had a pretty good pullback on Sol recently. And I think it's just another great buying opportunity. Any pullbacks right now for Solana is a big deal. I think in the broader terms, if you look at it, Bitcoin's had its moment, right? It's already got to all-time highs. If you look at ETH and Sol, the smart contract platforms, they're both still well behind all-time highs from the previous cycle. And so there's just so much room for them just to get back to the all-time high. And then like, how much farther can they go from there? For me, it's much farther. And so if you look at the chart for ETH and Bitcoin right now, the ETH BTC ratio, ETH looks like it's about to finally break through of this downtrend that it's had for 2 years on Bitcoin. If it breaks through that, it's a signal that, hey, I don't want to say alt season, but smart contract platform season is here. And like, it's that narrative of like the tokenization of everything that's not happening on Bitcoin. It's happening on things like Ethereum and Solana. And I think when Ethereum breaks through that chart, which probably comes next week when these ETFs go live, it's game on for smart contract platforms. And so ETH is going to dominate Bitcoin. But then you look at the Sol ETH chart, and you see that Sol's about to dominate ETH. And so just depends on how far down that risk curve you want to go. But very bullish ETH, whole lot of ETH because the risk is so little there. Solana, a little more risk than ETH, let's say, but not much more and more upside. So just so dang bullish Solana. It's crazy. And what's wild is it's a 5-6x from when I was calling it last year. To still be that bullish on something after 6x is pretty wild.
Sounds like exciting times for Solana to come. And Kai, I think it's a pretty clear investment case for an opportunity to do really well in a major, which, as you said, is pretty unusual to have something that is this low on the risk curve, but this high on the reward. You don't see that very often. So, yeah, certainly a large percentage of your portfolio. If you guys want to see how much of the Milk Road Pro portfolio is in Solana, GoPro link is in the show notes. Kai, do you want to share how much of your portfolio is in Solana?
Yeah, first, if you're going to go pro, make sure you do it quick. Don't wait because the price is going up on Monday. Probably the price of Sol is going up by Monday too. So make sure you also don't take your time in buying more Sol. You got to make moves quick in this industry. And so when Sol looks good, just go buy it. Don't wait. When pro membership looks good, just go buy it. Don't wait. You've got until Monday to do it. I guess Sunday because it goes up Monday morning or Sunday night. My portfolio, I think Solana is... I have to look, but it's probably around 30%. I think it might even be more now, maybe 40% of my total portfolio. Either way, Sol and ETH make up about 85, close to 90% of my entire portfolio. And then I've got a few smaller assets that fill in there, but none of them have much size. I think outside of the majors, and I also include Coinbase in the majors, by the way. But outside of the majors, I have one asset that is like above 1% of my portfolio. Everything else is below that one asset. Can you guess what it is, Jay?
Maker.
You got it.
Anybody who wants to know why Kai is so hype on Maker, go back and check out our episode from a couple weeks ago, all about how Maker could 20x in this bull cycle. Kai, thanks so much for joining us today and giving us the breakdown of Solana.
You got it. Big things coming. Let's go.
In case you missed it, here's what else happened in crypto news today. Coinbase has filed lawsuits against the SEC and the FDIC for failing to comply with the Freedom of Information Act requests. Coinbase accuses the regulators of orchestrating a campaign to isolate the crypto industry from the traditional banking system, referring to it as Operation Chokepoint 2.0. Coinbase claims the SEC denied requests for information regarding its stance on Ethereum and past investigations, hindering transparency and understanding of enforcement actions. The Milkman says, fuck yeah, Coinbase, let's go. Thanks so much for listening in, everybody. Have yourselves a wicked awesome day.
Thank you for listening to Milk Road Radio, the easiest path to get smarter about crypto. If you like this episode, share it and hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, then we'll leave a link to Milk Road Pro as well, your #1 resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this podcast is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Crypto is risky, so you should never invest more than you're willing to lose. Thank you, friends, and we'll see you in the next one.